What's up, y'all? It's Shuffle, and welcome to the first entry of our new series, The Lightly Salted Rant. What we are trying to focus on here is the root of some issues in the gaming industry and the gaming world. You know, the world that we all choose to occupy because we just enjoy games. That's why you're here on this channel. That's why I do YouTube. I like my games. And so what we're going to be focusing on today is gaming journalism. And at first, I wanted to make this two different videos. I was going to do like a part 1 and a part 2, but then I thought about them individually. And each one individually seemed kind of short, so we're just going to slam it together. So I actually put all this stuff together for the second half of the video in just the last hour. So let's get started with it. And what we're going to be focusing on is, as I said, the journalism in gaming. And there's a couple things that happen. People write articles, people talk about reviews and other stuff like that. And so the first thing we're focusing on today is the actual writing that people do about video games. And some of this is going to creep into our next topic, which is not actually this video, called lazy content, which we'll talk about that when the time comes. But first, we're going to focus on what this is. So as you see here, by the way, I'm not trying to slam any of these authors. I'm sure they're all wonderful people, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking after we read this article together. But check this out. This was at Mike.com or whatever, and they do a bunch of stuff. They're kind of a clickbaity variety website that covers basically anything. And so right here, Diablo 3 Season 10 end date. Here's what we know so far. This is from last year. This is back when Season 10 was still running, and people were just they wanted this one to end because the Necromancer was coming, or they thought, because we didn't have an official release date. So they're going, okay, when is this over? When is this over? You know, when is this done? When do I get to play the Necro? Because the Necro's in beta and all this other contextual shit. And you see here, this was written in May, and it's talking about what we know. Okay, I'm not doing a good job of explaining, but check it out. So Diablo 3 Season 10 started March 2017 and is currently well underway. However, sooner or later, the fun is going to have to come to an end. Duh. Dramatic reverb. Shoutouts to Angry Beavers. Though Blizzard hasn't announced a specific end date, we can probably make a pretty educated guess based on how they've handled previous seasons. No period. So, right here, we have 2 paragraphs, a grand total of 3 sentences. And I said I'm not trying to slam the authors too much, but what's driving me banana sandwich here, we don't even have really good punctuation. We have some pretty mealy-mouthed wording. If you've ever written a college paper, you're usually told to come in hard and strong. You want to slam them in the face with your thesis and your opinion. You don't want to be like, well, I think we might probably kind of be able to basically make some kind of assessment. You know, you don't need all this extra verbiage and this mealy-mouthed garbage that just makes you sound unsure, because it's like, when someone reads this and you're sitting here acting really unsure, we probably make a pretty educated guess. You know, when you're not coming in hard and strong with an opinion like that, it's kind of like, why are you writing? Because if you're not sure, why am I reading this? You know, if I'm not sure, if you're not sure, then I'm not sure, and if I'm not sure, why are you writing this? You know, that's what we're getting at. Stock Blizzard image for this, just ripped right off the Blizzard website. It's obviously cited, so we're not mad at that. But again, we'll explain it in a sec. Diablo 3 Season 10 is probably ending soon. Just said that up here, somewhere. And then Seasons 8 and 9 of Diablo both lasted about 10 weeks. Season 8 to these days, Season 9 to those days. Season 10 started shortly after on March 31st, so it'll probably end in the beginning of June, somewhere around the 2nd to the 9th. And so what I was saying before is this drifts into what I was getting at with the lazy content. You know, this whole thing is 6 sentences. And right here it's done. More gaming news and updates. It's over. It's actually over at that point. So it's 6 sentences, 2 stock images, 1 just random ass title, you know, that's clickbaity as hell. Here's what we know so far. Here's what you think you know so far. And like I said, this is lazy content. This, no joke, this would have taken probably 5 minutes. 5 minutes to write this. Like, the actual typing doesn't take a lot of time, and then probably the most time-consuming part of this was putting in the images and the links, and probably the different sizes and the boldness on the titles and stuff. And obviously, there is no editor that proofreads. So, the reason this is upsetting is because this is, like I was saying before, this goes into lazy content territory, where people just, you see this all the time on YouTube now, if you kind of look for it. You know, once you identify it, you can spot it a lot more often. This is just synthesizing Reddit threads. So there's a bunch of these on Reddit and Blizzard forums and stuff like that every time, and it's just, when does season 10 end? Thank you. Hasn't even started. Like, this was back in, I think, March when it was coming out. There's a date right here, March 31st, right? And everyone says 2.5 to 3 months. That's what this guy's saying. And this is what I'm saying with lazy content. People just, you can type something like this if you're employed or whatever, a freelance writer or whatever. You can type these quickly, easily. All you have to do is just go find Reddit or go find the game's appropriate, forums through the website, and just take all the posts and the chatter there, synthesize it into about 2 pages or less of typing, throw in some pictures, and you can post it on Mike, which is a big website of articles. I see them outside of here, and I see them cover many other things, and you can get paid for this. I'm actually legitimately curious. I really don't care that this isn't, well, I do care that this is incredibly lazy, but I'm more curious what someone gets paid for this. Because, like I said, this takes 5 minutes of work. Even if you got like $100 for this, and then how many dollars in revenue did the clicks generate for Mike when they did this? I'm just, it bothers me. It bothers me a lot because it's so low effort, and 2 parties, the website and the author, both benefited greatly from something incredibly lazy, or as incredibly lazy as just synthesizing the Reddits. Alright, now we're getting into the second half of the video. This is talking about gaming journalism still, and we're getting into another part of it, which is gaming reviews and people who, the critics, I should say, that review these games. And I feel like their job can be pretty tough, and also, there's a reason that people don't take reviews that seriously anymore, outside of something that's closer to being scientific, like a Metacritic or something else where you can pull a large majority of players. With something like Metacritic, you can get 50,000 people that all just click a 7 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 or something on something, a product or media or whatever, and that's closer to what's probably the genuine truth, because you get the more opinions the better, kind of a democratic idea. These reviews, they're done in a vacuum because it's just one person, maybe a team, maybe a friend or something like that, and they probably play the game for an entire week and then type a review and then move on. And for certain games that are really short, like just as a comparison, if you had like a Call of Duty campaign that went to 12 hours or something, I don't know how long they really are anymore, but they're about 8 to 14 hours depending, if you don't speedrun and stuff. And when a game is that short, sure, you can probably beat it once or twice, try out some different paths or whatever, and different difficulties if that's accessible, and you can make an actual decent review. But something like Monster Hunter, a game that is going to want you to put in 300 hours or more into the game, like a grind-heavy game that you will be playing for 3-4 months down the road, it's really unfair to give it a snap review on day one. And we're gonna explore a little bit about that in this review here. So again, I'm not picking on the authors themselves, but more just it's more the system, right? The system that gives you these shitty gaming journalistic expectations and results. And so this one's written a little bit better. I read through it. I took some notes, and this guy, he writes pretty well, because he talks about, he has some jokes and whatever. I like this opening here. How can warfare be infinite? Who was actually doing the reckoning in Kingdoms of Amalur? Just little stuff like that. This is someone that's actually had some practice and probably taken some college classes, unlike our last person who might still be in high school. Who the hell knows? But just reading through this, I'll post the links to the stuff that I have. I'll put them in the description of this so you can read them yourself or whatever. There's a lot of fluff in here, and we'll go back to it in a sec, but what I really want to focus on, because this is actually pretty lengthy, is the first part here. This is going to Reddit and GameFAQs and whatever else, and just reading community chatter, which is good. The only time it's bad is when you do something like the last article, where you just, that's your whole article is, I read these 4 Reddit posts and here's what they said and now pay me. But this here says, let's get something out of the way. There's been an assumption among the waiting audience over the past months that Capcom would simplify the series to court a Western audience. I don't think it's specifically that. I don't know. I think it's just to court a bigger audience. Like, courting the Western audience was putting it on console. That's what that was doing, not because it sells like hotcakes. Even though I don't remember hotcakes to sell well, but that's the expression. They sell well in Japan on handhelds, but people don't really own. Well, they don't like 3DS as much as a PC or a PlayStation 4 anymore. So they don't sell as much over in the West. That's what the console move was for. But this part here, this is the thing. After just the first few hours, it becomes abundantly clear those concerns are unfounded. What he's talking about is that they simplified the game. In his opinion, the game being simplified is not a concern. And here, there's two reasons why this statement shouldn't be here. Like, it could have just been this. This is, I'm trying to give Capcom a pat on the back. Maybe they'll send me another copy. That's what this is right here. When you deflect criticism, that's what that is. And the reason that is deflection is because you come down all the way here. I apologize for my laggy-ass browser. Whew, okay. Whoa. Yeah, my computer's old. It can't handle recording and doing this at the same time. Actually, it's also the browser. Chrome runs like shit on my computer for some reason. So right here, right before the end, a lack of shoutouts to Spyro, ad block please. So let's see, a lack of ultra tough G rank challenges might also leave some wishing for even more. The definitive verdict will likely be impossible until we're hundreds rather than tens of hours into it. I don't think this qualifies as burying the lead, but up at the top, this is 2 pages, 3 pages of typing down. Up at the top, he says, what is it? That the concerns for lack of challenging content or simplified things are unfounded. And then you come all the way down here and it says a lack of ultra tough G rank challenges might also leave. Like, he's admitting to what he said people are afraid of, and he said they shouldn't be afraid of it. And down here, here's the other part. The definitive verdict will likely be impossible until we're hundreds rather than tens of hours in, which is my initial point. Why write a review copy of a game that requires hundreds of hours when you only can give 40 to 60? And then also, why write an opinion piece on it? Well, I mean, I understand there's a market and people click this, and people probably read like the first 2 paragraphs, skip all the way down to here where it says the verdict. Most people probably just skip straight to here. They don't want to read his whole thing because it's kind of wordy and what is it? It overly fluffs up the verbiage in trying to explain Monster Hunter systems, and it tries to make them sound like Monster Hunter's a little complicated sometimes, but this one's a lot easier than the previous ones, and the way he's explaining it makes it seem like it's not. And I disagreed with that, but again, you can read it for yourself. And here, he's talking about tens of hours instead of hundreds of hours. The reason we're talking about that is because right here in the middle of the article, a disclaimer, though I've completed the story quest, which goes back to what I was going to say before, if I did say it, I can't remember. It's been a long day. These review people, I might have said it in a different take. This is like the 3rd time I'm trying this, but these review people most likely just play through the story once and then leave. And this is evident right here. Though I've completed the story quest, I'm absolutely nowhere near quote-unquote finished. Side quests are clogging up my menus, I haven't touched the majority of the weapons, and even the end of the campaign opens up a second, much more difficult half. If you play Monster Hunter World, what half is he talking about? High rank? Because if he's talking about high rank, he has no idea what's happening in the game. You just see a couple, you see all the baby shit, and it's not that you can't get the gist of what the game's about, but the game does ramp up a little bit in high rank. High rank's a lot more fun. More stuff happens, like multi-monster hunts and eventually tempered versions and all kinds of stuff, And as well as Elder Dragons, which, here's the other thing. I have a second review queued up. I'm not going to read through all of it, but this is on Polygon, and this is on IGN. Neither one of these talk about, what is it? Elder Dragons. or tempered monsters. They never got there. They don't know what's in the game. And so this guy's saying that he hasn't played a lot of the weapons. There's a much more difficult second half. This isn't an admission of guilt. It's a demonstration of what kind of game we're dealing with. Above and beyond anything else you can say about World, there's a lot of it. It's stupendously generous with the content, and better, matches that with consistently making your time feel well spent instead of wasting on empty feeling grinding, which, again, this person has, by his own admission, to be fair. And where did he actually says, let's see if I can find it with Control F. Right here. It's right in the middle of it. This is why I decided to put this part in this video, because I was reading through this and I went, do I want to do this now? Do I have like enough to go on? And then I got right here. But as far as opportunities for new experiences go, World just never seems to stop providing them. And I love that feeling. 50 hours in, it's still regularly throwing crafting possibilities, monsters, and even entirely new systems at me. This guy played for 50 hours, made it to high rank, which I'm not saying that you should be at high rank at a certain time. I'm not saying that. But he hasn't put a lot of meaningful time into the game. That's all it comes down to. You put in 50 hours, got about a third of the way, if that, through the game, because once you get through low rank, there's high rank, and then elders, and then you have to get to rank 50 and do tempered cure, and then you have to get to 100 and do the quests at the end of that, and there's a bunch of side quests along the way that keep opening up when you're at higher ranks. There's just a lot to the game. And he never got there. And when he says, oh, the content's there, the content's not there. This is one of the most content-starved entries in the series. People who have put in 300 hours can recognize that. Or they know that. They talk about that. That's why we're all kind of like, when Joe showed up, everyone's like, oh, Double Joe, this is amazing. This is fun. It's super fun that there's something new. We played it for like a week, and then everyone's back to going, all right, when's the next shit coming? And I'm getting a little off topic, going closer into Monster Hunter itself, but what I'm talking about here is this is why people don't take reviews that seriously, because most of them are like this. The person spends a little bit of time, enough to write something, usually enough to beat the story, and then they just throw it out there. And the goal isn't to have good content, the goal is to have, if I can get back up there, the goal is to have content on release day. That is the goal. The goal is to be first. And that's oh man, that's something beyond the scope of this channel that is, the news in general has that problem. They don't care about being right anymore, they care about being first. If you break the story, you get all the hits, you get all the clicks. And that's exactly what's going on here. And so for now, I think I've said all that I really need to say here. There's probably more to do in this realm. There are other topics of gaming journalism that are always out there, and if you actually have some ideas, feel free to let me know, because I know that everyone has opinions. That's what all this is, an opinion. But I think I back it up pretty well with some stuff here. Oh, the other thing that happens in this, going off on a classic tangent here, that neither of these mention connection issues, which makes me think that they didn't play with their friends or try and play online. Both versions of the game launched with horrible connection issues. Xbox got it worse because Capcom never put a fucking beta on Xbox. Damn you, Sony, and your money in Street Fighter V. But, yeah, and so just the more time you get with this game, the more you realize how full of shit these are. And that's why people don't trust them anymore. That's why people, when you link an IGN article, they go, LOL, or you can't spell ignorant without IGN. And people just fucking flat out dismiss Kotaku now. It's just because it's all garbage, right? It's all garbage. And for all you who probably thinking, oh man, if you're gonna shit on them so hard, why don't you do it yourself or take up the job and see how hard it is? Please, let's go back to Diablo 3. Please, Mike, contact me. Here's my channel's right here. Maybe I'll tweet this shit at you. Please contact me. I can write something better than this. For whatever you're paying him, and if I get you better clicks, please pay me more. Anyone can write something better than this. It's a travesty that someone got paid for this. And I don't know. Like, I am completely willing to do this kind of work. I've taken the college Englishes. I know how to to say some things with like 50% grammatical accuracy, right? I can convey a point when I can sit down and type it and I have some time. I do a pretty good job with examples. So please, yes, if someone else needs to show you how it's done, please contact me. I'm right here. But anyway, so we're done with this one. Like I said, we went over shitty articles and then shitty reviews. They look nice. And they... Like, what is this even based on? It's got a 9. It's all these elements. I mean, this one was probably better written. It talks about the streamlined additions. Quality of life. I don't know. Crafting is a huge element in the game. Probably talking about auto crafting. That was a nice change, but yeah. So we're done for now. Let me go up to a little picture here so we can end with that. But Hunter 4, Hunter 1. Is this the beta? This looks like beta footage. Interesting. But yeah, so this is done. I've said it 3 times. We're done with this one. The next 2 that I have planned is one will be lazy content because YouTube sent out an email and shit that kind of pissed me off, and it needs to be talked about, especially with a lot of the changes they're doing lately over the last couple of years, Adpocalypse and other crap that people aren't happy with. And the other is I was going to do I was going to show it, but I don't need to. I was going to review Marvel Infinite, not review like we just, read about. More like I was going to talk about what happened to Marvel Infinite. And Maximilian, it's so funny. I was going to do this video about Marvel last weekend, and Max did it this week, and I didn't do it last weekend. There's my dog barking. I'm just going to slap him in a minute. No, I'm kidding. I love my dog. But it's funny. I was going to call my video What Happened, and Max called it What Happened, and then he made the same kind of video I was going to make where he's dissecting what happened to Marvel, and I don't think he goes into it the way I was going to go into it, so that leaves me room to make something. But it's kind of funny, and it really shows something that YouTube's all about, which is actually what we're getting to in this video, right? We talk about news. It's important to be first, and if I had done my video a week ago, it might have done a lot better. Who knows, because I haven't made it yet, but it might have done a lot better than it's going to, because I would have been before Max, and people would have accused me. I'm like, no, check the date, bitch. It's like March 28th. We're in there. And instead, we're going to be like, I don't know, April something. But that one's going to take a lot of time to put together. And like I said, I'm going to go a different angle than he did, because he kind of went with his personal experience and his thoughts, because Max has a lot of insider info that I don't. And I was going to more look at the community, and he was looking at his personal feelings. So, a little bit of wiggle room. But I hope you enjoyed this. I'm probably going to do more of them, and when I can, I will add a face cam or something to this, because it needs something that isn't just audio overlay, because it's kind of boring to just look at a static image, right? So I'll look into that, but I got to get the new computer, new mic probably, and then the cam, which is going to be hard to afford all that considering I just spent $1,500 fixing my car. So anyway, as I said, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Let me know what y'all think, and I will see you guys later.